Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
How's everybody? Morning.
Claude is a little under the weather. I think he feels fine, but he says his voice is terrible and he's hacking and coughing. He's promised he wasn't going to talk. I think that's going to last maybe another 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
We've been chatting it up all morning in the green room, so to speak, and I haven't noticed any debilitating cough and hack from him.
I personally think he's just doing it so Steve can talk again, but
Oh yeah.
Could be. Well, Steve, how about you run down who's in chat, and we'll see who all's here this morning.
We'll see how many people I can miss. Jeez. Well, good morning, everybody. We got Schoolkill River Valley John. Good morning. Mike's Deep Run Railroad. My buddy Bernard C. Gerald Stewart, and my buddy Bro Brian at Iron Horse Model Railroading. How are you doing? Rick's Railroad, Lehigh Subdivision. We got Steven at Wigwag. Let's see. We had a new one. We got Container Man in there. Good morning, Roy. We got Lynn McCurdy. And Simon Saucy. Where have you been, young man? Haven't seen you in a long time. And we had another one. Well, we got Chuck CDP 1965. How are you? We got Byron VR. Welcome to the show. You're a new one. I think that's it. Did I miss anybody? Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning, folks.
Unmute yourself, Claude. You're not coughing that bad.
Well, you didn't want to hear that last one. Like I told him, the laughing makes me cough even more. So that's one reason I'm muting. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I've had a upper respiratory thing all week, and I'm feeling better, but it's still kind of lingering. So I am going to stay on the sideline today and let these guys take it. So they did good while I was gone.
Why do you think that happened, Claude? You had a theory as to why?
I was priming some wood with spray primer, and dummy me didn't put a mask on, and it was doing it inside, and I think I got a little bit of that in there because it was tight that night, and I wasn't really coughing or anything for several days, but I think that's where it came from.
Was it a modeling subject?
No, I was making a new rack for some more shot glasses. I collect coffee cups and shot glasses on our trips, and I've got 2 full ones, and I needed another rack, so I was building another one.
What do you make these racks out of?
They're just wood, just pine.
Cool. Where do you?
The first 2 I had, my daughter gave to me, were pre-built, and I just kind of copied what they were. So.
Where do you display them?
They're up in the game room.
Okay.
Yeah, they're up in our game room. So.
How many do you have now?
How many shot glasses or shot glass racks?
Both.
I've got 3 of the racks now. I don't know how many shot glasses there are. It's enough to fill 2 of them full, and the other one's got half dozen on it. So, and I've got more coffee cups.
What are the dimensions of the racks?
Say again?
What are the dimensions of the racks?
They're like 23 wide. The inside dimension is like 23 wide by 17 tall. And it's got 5. I mean, you got the very top, and then you've got 4 more shelves on it. So
one rack has 4 shelves?
Actually, it has 5. You got the top and then 4 shelves.
Okay, gotcha.
So you got the top and bottom, and then 3 in the middle.
That's quite a few shot glasses.
Yeah. Well, some of them, some shot glasses are really tall. The really decorative ones can be really tall, and you have to set them on top because you can't get them in the shelf. Shelf's not high enough because the shelf's a little less than 4 inches. So if you get anything big, it's got to go on the top shelf so you can fit it up. And I bought one in Costa Maya that was it's a leather cowboy boot, snakeskin cowboy boot with the shot glass in the top of it. It's really nice looking shot glass, and of course, but it's great big. So I had to have room on top.
Got
See
a
you,
few
Blake.
chat. We got to say good morning to. We got Allison. Good morning, Allie. We got Hi, H&H Express. Good morning, Boilermaker Rick, Almar, John Tanzillo, and we've got Mark Pruitt, Joe Rader. So
Awesome.
Big full house today.
Yeah. Yeah, 28 watching. So
Sweet. Hit that like button, guys. Unless you don't like us,
Then hit it twice.
So
then hit it twice.
it looks like Steve's scenery has changed. Have
Mm.
have you done some things in the shop that, because normally we're looking at your layout. Did you just turn your chair around?
No, no, I'm out. I'm out on the other side. No,
Okay.
I'm getting this thing ready. I got the engine all polished up. I painted my trucks on the fuel car and caboose, yeah, which I did with
So it's a great looking shot right there. It really is.
like that.
Yeah.
It
No,
almost looks
nice.
like you're in a what's the word I'm looking for? A fake background behind you. It looks so
Yeah.
good that it looks like you're in a green screen.
I like that. Should I start doing it this way?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
It is a really good view.
One thing I noticed though, and I like it, is the smoke box at the front of the boiler is burn all the paint off. Looks
Never had-
like anyway.
It never had any paint.
Did it not? I thought it was painted blue like the rest of it.
No, it's painted black.
It was black.
It was black, yeah. But what's weird is the paint is turning black because of the heat from the smoke box.
Well, because it looks like a dark smoke gray on there.
I don't
in the shot, but
I don't think John took into consideration when he painted this. He used an automotive paint that doesn't handle heat real well. So it's around the smoke box is turned black, kind of from black to blue, which is kind of weird. Cylinders are starting to darken up from the heat, but it's not a high temperature paint.
Now the boiler itself, is it jacketed like a real locomotive would be?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's a real thin insulation that he put in there. It's not real thick. But yeah, it's just thick. I'm not really sure what he used to wrap the jacket in it. I've got some old pictures of it, but a lot of questions about this that I never got from John because we never really talked about it much. It was sitting in his bedroom when I knew him, just partially built. So I never really got a chance to ask a lot of questions about it. So that's unfortunate. I did find out he painted blue, and that was just from a guy that made some comments that he found on when I posted my YouTube videos about it, and he had noticed John. And he asked me, he said, "You know why John painted blue?" And I was chatting back and forth with him, and I'd always wondered why it was painted blue. And he knew John back in Scotia when he was building this. And John kind of a womanizer, let's put it. And he had this little kind of apartment house that he lived in. And this gal, beautiful blonde gal was out in front of the complex that had a classic Mustang that was blue, the color blue. And of course, he went right out and, struck up a conversation with her. And within a week of that, he had painted that same color blue. It's I think I'm trying to remember what is it. I think it's a 1980s it's a metallic Mustang blue that Ford used. So that's how come he painted it blue. But there's a lot of questions I asked about him. But no, I've got it all polished up. I've been out here getting it all cleaned up. I painted the trucks on the caboose and tender black. I'll on it because they were just standard metal that came with it, and I didn't want to take all the side frame apart. Trucks were painted the butt to apart with all the brake rigging. So I got here with my spray can and I sprayed into this little guy, Q-tips, and I got in here for a couple hours and painted it with Q-tips. But they look really nice now. Everything's all cleaned up. I got one other thing I did. Let me see if I can flip this camera around.
Close your eyes, Dennis.
Oh, where'd he go?
I don't know.
He turned it too fast.
I
Right
went to make him big and he just disappeared.
He'll be back.
His internet is every bit as good as mine, I think.
Well, you notice his sound is breaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't
I hope
have great
he's still
internet.
not, talking and doesn't realize that he's not even on.
Well, if you guys were living somewhere where there's civilization, you'd probably have better internet.
No, I pressed the wrong button. What happened? Yeah, okay, settings, camera.
It's not the big red X, Steve.
It's. I hit that big red X. Okay. Anyway, I got some lenses put in the marker lights on the back of the caboose.
Are you going
those
to
real brass?
Can you see those very good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows up well.
Is that
Okay.
real brass?
Yeah, actually, I got those from Tim Parks. He had these on his steamer, and they were never right. They're marker lamps that didn't really fit his steam engine. So he ordered some proper ones, and he gave me these. But yeah, they're brass.
Are you going to light them up?
Yeah, I ordered some LED lights
Sweet.
to go up inside there. They're 9-volt. But yeah, I got the truck side frames. I'll try not to move this around too much because my internet gets jumpy and it'll make mistakes.
So if you painted them on there, how did you paint the insides of the frames?
With a Q-tip.
The backside. You know what I mean?
I didn't paint the backside.
Okay. Do you have to worry about them rusting?
No, they don't get wet.
Okay.
But yeah, I got that, and I got the tender deck all polished up again.
Yeah, is that thing going to be like a constant thing to take care of?
No, not really. No, it's pretty. Polishing the brass is kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But
Is there anything that you had to do to winterize it, when you put it up last year that you had to undo to get started again this spring, or?
No, because I blew out all the water and all the lines of it so it wouldn't freeze. And no, firing it up's easy. I don't have to do anything to fire. As a matter of fact, I could fire it up right now. But
Yeah, it's propane. It don't take much.
no, I'd fire up real quick. But yeah, I'm gonna try to. Also, let's see, where is it? Here it is. My smokestack for the caboose. I'm gonna be putting that on. That's gonna be going right here.
You should maybe. How about if you put like a what do you call them, Bill? Those little smoke generators in there. Can you put a smoke generator in there?
I suppose I could.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be kind of a cool effect.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but yeah, I guess I could.
I don't know how long it wouldn't last all that long is the only problem.
Although with something like that,
Get a fog machine.
yeah, you could do a fog machine, or you could do a smoke generator, and he's got enough room where he could set up like a reservoir with a drip, so that it would drip the oil into it as it's going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm sure you could figure it out.
But
Yeah, those little valves are the coolest thing ever, man.
it's a full-time job polishing the brass on this. I don't know if anybody's actually seen. I can pull this cab off. And for those that haven't seen the inside of the workings of the cab,
Roy wants to know what your weight limit for riders is.
you'd be over the weight limit.
Yeah,
I think that included me, Roy.
you and me ain't going for a ride, Roy.
The last time I ran it before I put it away, I had 2 adults on the riding car, and it actually pulled them up a 1.5% grade. But yeah, I think Roy, you would probably max this thing out.
You might have to superheat it or something.
Okay, enough of me.
So do you use like Brasso or some other product on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like Brasso is like my chair won't turn
Industry
on.
standard.
And probably the more that you touch that, the more you're going to have to keep cleaning it because all your oils from the hand get on it.
Yeah, I don't think polishing it all the time. I would just probably let it kind of just be natural.
Yeah. I wonder if you could clear coat parts of it that you don't want to keep dealing with.
I don't know. I guess I could. But that's too much work.
Yeah, well, everything's work.
But no, I'm getting anxious to get this thing out running.
By the way, Shannon dropped in.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble now.
Hey, Shannon.
We probably should show that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually got, almost 10 more people now than we had, just 20 minutes ago or so. Not 20, but a few minutes ago.
That's pretty cool. Who else? Who popped in that I didn't see? Okay, we got Dwight Curley. Popped in. Let's see who else. Eagle Creek Railroad guys. We got Digger.
Digger
Popped in. Let's see who else is there.
Iron Horse.
Yeah, that's my buddy Brian.
Michael McCarville is now here.
Michael.
Yeah.
Very cool, guys. Well, welcome.
Yeah, Brian, we need to get you back on the show for a little bit.
Yeah.
Come tell us what you've been up to.
I've been trying to get on, but he's always busy.
Bill, what have you been up to? Show that tree you were showing me earlier.
So yeah, a few things this week. So I started this one like Monday night. So this is like the second in this type of a pine tree that I've been building, and I don't know if you like it.
Wow.
Let's see, you can kind of see I've got dead growth on the bottom of it. So this is about
almost looks like a sequoia.
Yeah, it could look anything that your imagination wants it to look like. Because for me, it's just a tree. It's pine tree. But this has been fun. So this, like last time we talked, I've been using some techniques I've seen from Boomer Diorama as well as Train Fan Attic, and then my own. So this is another one where I'm using the grapevine wires to make the trunks, and then florist wire to do the wraps for the branches, which let me see there. We can see a little bit of it where there's a branch made out of the florist wire. And then that's coated with Mod Podge and sprinkled with Woodland Scenic's ground cover. And then I can just take, a little pin drill. I can drill into it and super glue it and then just sprinkle on materials. So it makes for a nice tree. So again, this is when I started on Monday and I just finished it this morning. And this has just been, a little bit here and there over the past few days to kind of build the tree.
No.
12 inches. You can't buy them at the hobby shops or online, but you can make your own.
What kind of tree is it?
That's just some sort of a pine tree.
Okay.
Sequoia
Have
sounds
you
good to
tried?
me.
Have you tried gluing on sawdust yet? Has that been anything you've tried yet?
No, I haven't tried because I've got an overabundance of the Woodland Scenics ground cover. And I haven't,
Okay.
honestly, I haven't used my power tools to create sawdust for anything recently.
I,
But
I've
at
got
some
more
point,
sawdust than I know what to do with. That's what I plan on doing with it.
so sawdust will work because I've seen that where Train Fan Addict in his builds, he's using not grapevine wire, but like dowels and balsa. But he uses sawdust for the trunks, and he gets really good effects. It's something that I will do once I have some sawdust, but I haven't cut wood for a while.
Do you have to paint it?
I do paint it. I paint it with a
No, I mean the sawdust.
the sawdust. You probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The color. And then I'll show you another thing that I've been working on.
More for texture.
Yeah. So I did just plant an engineer over here by my crane to sit and kind of talk with the survey crew. And then over here at the service area, my little engine facility, last weekend, I think I showed I was starting to do this crane. So I've got it done, weathered and put in position. You know, it's just sitting here as I kind of align how I'm going to be doing things. But then I built these, which are a 1/48 scale airline or airplane fueling carts, which my world is post World War II. So I figured, you know, hey, they could get some of this old equipment from old Air Force bases. And I do have an ON-30 diesel locomotive that I've got to get running that I bought a while back. So, you know, I'll have this stuff scattered around the yard. And then this was a little laser kit for like an oil siphon cart. Again, just to have something like that in and around, service areas. So this isn't where all of this stuff is going to go. The crane's going to be there, but this stuff I'll scatter around when I do other things. And then I put my little mini box cars that I bought at a hobby shop a couple of weeks ago on, and just kind of got the roof pieces set on those. You know, one of these days I will start to weather the freight cars, weather the engines, but that'll be something that'll come a little bit later.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
So I got a question about your process. I noticed that, like right now, the area that you're focused on, you've done no basic groundwork. Is there a reason why you haven't done that yet, or is it just because you just decided not to?
It's because I want to get a good feel for how things are going to lay out. So, you know, where I had the engine house put, you know, I've got basic groundwork in place. I've got to come back and do some touch up, but you know, I knew what I wanted here. In this area, I know it's going to be mostly flat, but I wanted to get a good mental visual of just what the scene's going to look like before I do the ground cover here. Same thing over here. I've got to build that water tank, and where it gets positioned will then determine where all of these other details will get positioned. And then from there, I'll be able to start to envision what I'm going to do for ground cover. Over here, this is pretty much how this is going to be. I could do ground cover in this area, and I probably will fairly soon, because this is basically how this is going to be set up at a parking lot here. So that's kind of the process. I put stuff out, get a good feel for how it's going to look, and then I can come back in and I know what I want to do with the ground cover. You know, if I want to make it really flat and just basic dirt, or if I want to, you know, build up where I'm going to have some grass areas around this parking area, you know, those kinds of things. That's just kind of how my thought processes work.
So eventually you're going to cover that cork road?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It'll all be covered eventually. This obviously will be a road going through here. There'll be an area where it'll be, you know, kind of dirt coming in here where you can have vehicles, probably have grass and, you know, some debris, maybe, you know, wheels, tires, you know, junk in and along here. So I've got it kind of thought out how I want to do it. And I've still got to pour my little water feature because I'm going to have like a little standing water over here along the cliff. So, lots of little things. But for this area, I wanted to get the major components put in before I come back in and then do the scenery.
Byron says it's interesting that you put the parts in first and then the ground cover.
Yeah, obviously, everything's going to move, but it gives me a good idea of where I want to put stuff so that, I can put in my ground cover and debris and, know where I want to have grass and things to kind of hide along edges. Just gives me a mental picture before I get too far into it and then, have to put stuff to accommodate what I've already got in for ground cover.
So, Bill, all your little accessories, will you glue them down?
No. Most of the accessories I'll keep portable so that I can move them around as I want. Big things like this crane, I'll get the crane glued in position, or anchored because I'm going to build a little base for it to sit on. Major buildings, I will set on here, and then when I put the ground cover in, I know glue will kind of work underneath them and hold them down. So I won't be taking major buildings off either, but little things like the cars and drums and different things, those things will be moved around over time.
Gotcha. You can just stick them in a box and.
Pretty much, yeah. I go to a show like when I went to the show here in January. What I did have done up here all went into some bags in a box so that I could just kind of put them back on for the show. Same thing. I take this to shows in the future. Small details will be taken off. Big details will just be left on because they won't fall off anyway. And then at the show, it takes like 10 minutes to go around and put cars back in place across the entire layout. And small details like these, once I get the building done, this will I'll glue to the building, maybe a drum if I'm going to set it like right here. Maybe I'll glue that to the building so that they're, part of the facility itself.
Right.
So just lots of little odds and ends.
And you have a lot of little odds and ends.
Oh, and I'm going to have a lot more like this. There's going to be probably, a dozen or more people in and around here on the outside once I get it done. I've got a whole bunch of people. I've got to get some paints and I've got to start practicing painting the O-scale people. But there's going to be a lot of action going on here, a lot of activity down in this area.
Are O-scale people expensive?
If you get the ones that are already pre-painted and like Arista figures, about $5 to $8 to $10 per person if you buy them full price. Yeah. But over here, and I don't know if we can see it well. It's kind of dark the way I've got the layout set. But like I bought another one from an auction, and it's like a little hobo playing a guitar. So I've got him down here now. I got him playing a guitar. There's one playing a harmonica, and there's one just sucking down a bottle. But it all adds character to the layouts. You don't have to have huge numbers, but you want to have enough so that it looks alive.
Yeah.
I want to know if you're going to be putting lights in your building, Bill.
Maybe at some point. It's something that I've thought about, and I might do that. Nothing anytime in the near future. I only have, a few buildings on this layout. So, maybe it wouldn't be hard to do to put one in here, put a light in here, maybe one in one of the sheds and in the engine house. That would be a future project.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Excuse me. But yeah, I'm having fun. I like having the guy, and he's just sitting here. Like, again, go to a show. This will all come off the layout. The crane kit, or the crane will come off, take it apart so it doesn't get broke. But it all adds just character to the layouts, makes it fun.
That's a cool little scene there with all the people working.
I saw a comment earlier, Bill. I can't find it, but they wanted to know. They said you should have a tree trimmer in one of your trees.
I don't know. The one that's being cut, or the one that I built.
I think the one that you built.
I was trying to find it.
Oh, maybe. Because that tree that I just built that I was showing, that's going to go like on the far corner of the layout over there.
That's not going to be your biggest tree, though, right?
No, I've got 14-inch trees
Right.
in a lot of areas here. This one will be a little bit smaller than the one that I did last week that I put there. But again, I'll put that on the other side, on the corner. And again, just sort of focal point trees that'll kind of pull your eye to something that's more detailed, where the rest of the trees kind of blend in and form that background. That's why, I've got like a lot of little scenes here that'll kind of pull your eye, a big area here to pull your eye. But like as you're coming around the layout, you get a little scene right here that can kind of pull your eye as you transition and go around to, seeing the bridges, which again is another scene, then another bridge, and then the narrow gauge bridge, the cabin, little scenes across the layout, so that as you're moving, you're going from areas that are kind of calm where there's nothing to areas that have something. So that, again, you're just going from transition quickly from one to another, to another, to another.
Bill, Anthony says that's a very impressive layout to see in person.
Oh, well, thank you, Anthony. I think that too every time I come out in the garage.
Did Anthony see it in person? Anthony, did you see it in person?
Apparently.
Maybe you saw it at the train show?
It could have. I talked to a number of folks that are up there. I don't know if Shannon's there, but the bear's getting closer.
Got a great kick.
So it's been a lot of fun. I still got lots of detail work to do on it, but
that little log cabin, whose kit is that? Do you remember?
That is actually a Plasticville kit.
It's plastic?
That's a plastic.
Yeah, he did a great job on it.
Yeah, so that I just, heavily modified a very cheap. I got it for like a couple of bucks off eBay. Added added a plaster smokestack I had from an HO kit. Tar paper roof, put a deck and a porch on it out of scrap lumber, trimmed off the tabs that they had that were too long, and then painted in like the mudding in between the logs.
Yeah, it looks great. I thought it was like a wood kit.
Yeah. Then like right here is where that new tree is going to go, just right here on the corner. Again, a transition piece as you're going around the layout, just to kind of pull the eye here as you're going from the cabin scene going around to where the still is.
Georgia Sunbelt was at your house, he said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Anthony. Yep. Anthony was here.
Oh, yeah.
Got to see it before I did anything over on this end. I hadn't done anything over here yet, except for the track.
Hey,
that's where I'm at.
Good morning, Shannon T from Down Under. How are you doing?
Yeah, the only other thing I did this week is I lowered the wheels on this 3D printed caboose. They had pegs on the bolsters, so that the caboose just looked odd. It sat high, so I cut those off and just lowered it so it looks a little bit more natural now and a little lower on the trucks.
The Late Night Model Railroad said he loves the variation in ground cover and low growth, and I agree with him. Your scenery techniques are wonderful.
Oh, it's fun. It just comes from practice.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
You just keep doing different things, and like I say, I like to build it in layers, a base layer, and then build up and up and up and up. Even though it doesn't have to go up high, you get all kinds of different textures and colors, and it just makes it look more natural.
Well, and yeah, you can't hardly mess up, unless you're just using colors that are, way out of line for nature that you find naturally. But
otherwise, like just a single color and you cover a wide area, it doesn't look natural. You want to mix it up with browns and greens and yellows and blend it and, sprinkle dirt in different areas. That's what makes it look real.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you can't really mess it up, because even if it doesn't look like you want to, you can always take it up and do it again.
Yeah. Or you can always put other things on top of it and hide it,
Yeah. But you never know until you put it down and look at it if it's going to look like what you want or not.
Yeah.
And so it's, you just do it and then change it from there if you need to.
Yeah, and what I had fun with is like on the HO scale when I was really just kind of practicing with techniques, years ago, I would use Woodland Scenics brown, dark brown earth blend or earth color. And I would use dilute white glue 50-50, and I would really liberally apply white glue. Well, what I found is when I sprinkled the ground cover on it, it dried. It made it look like it was mud or more wet, like the area had been rained on recently, and the ground was that nice wet looking color, but without being wet or shiny. And it really gave a really nice effect in some of the areas on the layout. It's like, hey, I like that. That looks pretty cool. It looks more natural than just plain brown dirt.
Was it the glue doing it, making it look that way?
Yeah, it'll change the color, and then with the glue, it'll kind of keep that sort of wet-looking color to the material, as long as you don't put the material on too thick. You get it in, it'll kind of make it look goopy as it's drying, but then when it dries, it's not shiny, but it's not dull either. It makes it look like you've had a rain go through recently, and the ground is just kind of damp yet.
Yeah. Well, see, it's like in my cattle pens, I used. It's the only place I used it was brown grout, tile grout, and it came out like I wanted it to, but it's a mess to use. And I've used grout because I used to tile and stuff all the time, but so that part's easy to do. But when you're doing it on a layout, it's a little bit different animal because you're putting it on like you put ground foam on. You don't mix it first like you do when you're doing tile, and so it gets everywhere. It's so powdery, it's like talcum powder, and it gets everywhere, but it comes out really nice because it looks like a dead flat brown. There's no shine to it. And, after it dries, there's no shine to it at all. And so it came out really well. And if I want anything wet looking, I'll take that magic water and go over the top of it. And because you can take that magic water and take a paintbrush and paint it on someplace, and it'll just look damp. So that's how I'm going to do that.
You could also probably use some of the glossy Mod Podge for that kind if you're looking for a wet look as well. Just paintbrush it on and it'll dry and give a little bit of a gloss to it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, there's all kinds of techniques of getting a damp look if that's what you're after. For me, the hard look is getting the non-shiny first, because you can always make it shiny, but it's hard to get it not shiny after it's shiny.
Yeah.
You use dull coat, but you can't do that just anywhere.
Doesn't the glue just make it shiny to begin with?
It depends on the glue.
Yeah. Elmer's glue, and I cut it 50-50, it's just my preference. You can cut it anything. I find that it doesn't dry shiny, at least on my ground cover, because I'll spread it out over a complete area. And it runs. I've got a lot on it, not just a thin coat. And it'll soak in the material that you sprinkle on it, and it will dry non-shiny. You've got to put enough on, but, not excessive.
Yeah.
Now, do they make different sheets of glue, like a matte glue?
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing there would be just use a matte.
I know Mod Podge. Yeah, Mod Podge makes different sheets.
Yeah. I've got this stuff, which is just their matte.
So, what's the difference between Mod Podge and Elmer's glue?
I don't really know. I think that it's not that different, but I don't
quality.
I don't really know for sure. This
Mod
stuff
Podge is going to be a little better quality.
This stuff, I first started to use this just as I was building these new trees. I've seen people using it, talking about it, and I've been having good luck with, dilute white glue, so I hadn't tried it. So I tried this, and I'm very impressed with it. It's more elastic than white glue. And I've noticed that when I was putting it on and I was trimming some of the branches, I would do the loop and I would cut pieces out of the loop. and they would hang there after I'd cut them, and I would pull on them, and I could feel, there's a little elastic give, so it's a little more flexible, I think, than just what dilute white glue would be when it actually dries.
Yeah.
This is something that you can pick up from Scenic Express that has that same quality. It's supposed to be a little more flexible. Boomer is a big advocate of making use of Liquitex matte medium for glue. It's very matte and still retains its flexibility after it adheres to everything.
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
It's more expensive than Elmer's by a lot, yeah. But if you use it in, that's the whole thing with glue. You have a variety of glues for a variety of different applications. If you're doing a large area where you just need to stick stuff to, Elmer's is great, 50-50. But if like for the trees and you want them to be flexible, the Mod Podge or this stuff, I use this a lot for static grass. It's just a matter of what you're using it for at the time. And large areas, Elmer's you can't beat it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this I got at a Michael's near where I live, and it's 16 fluid ounces, and it was about $9 for this. The funny thing is that you could get a half-gallon size of this for like $21. So it's like, do the math, buy 2 of these, and you're still cheaper than buying the same amount, at least at Michael's. And they'd run from $8.95 to like $10 or $11 for the glossier stuff. I think was a little more expensive, but for trees, this is going to last me a long time for building trees. Again, it's what you want, what you want to buy for it. But this is for $9, this is a good investment. This is going to last me for a long time.
Yeah, kind of the difference between glue and the Mod Podge. I think you're right. It's a little more elastic. The first time I ever saw Mod Podge was grade school, and we were taking pictures and gluing them onto a wood plaque and going over it, and it was covering that. And so that's what I always had thought of Mod Podge being was almost like a shellac kind of thing without being a strong smell or anything, but. Yeah, there's a lot of uses for Mod Podge that you can't use glue for. But then you also have regular Elmer's glue, and you've got the school glue. I use the school glue for my large areas because it's thinner, first of all, and so it breaks down a little better when you dilute it than the regular Elmer's does, but it holds just as well. And somebody said something about having a problem with it leaving a milky spot on top, and I have run across that where if I got too much glue in one area or I put some shrubbery on top of ground foam, it would leave a little ring where the glue dried. So then I got to come back in with some ground foam on top of that to kind of cover it up. But it's a lot cheaper. There's the school glue. You can get a gallon of it for, less than $10, versus regular Elmer's or Mod Podge, of course, is a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
And I apologize for my boys.
Yeah. Another glue that's good to have, in your modeling kit is carpenter's glue. It could be Gorilla Glue or Tight Bond. Like for me, when I put in my grass, I don't use the static grass when I'm doing grass on the ground. I've done it in a couple of spots, specific small areas, but I take the Woodland Scenics grass and, I'll cut it to like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, whatever, and I'll take pinches of it. But what I find is that if I'm using carpenter's glue on that, I put a little drop on the ground and then I plant my grass in, it'll keep it where it'll keep the grass upright better than white glue as it cures. And then I just come back in and I sprinkle a little bit again, Woodland Scenics ground cover, the fine, on top of the grass, and it will work its way down into that glue so that it looks more like lower level grass or leaves for the grass. It gives it a nice effect, but that glue will keep it where it keeps the grass upright, so you're not getting where it's just kind of all over the place.
I think you use Tight Bond. That's what I use, and it's Of course, I used it when I was doing carpentry work stuff, but it's a much stiffer glue to start with than Elmer's.
Yeah.
Bill, do you use static grass applicator?
I've got a couple of spots where I have, like up around the cabin where the area is where the girl's laying on the bed. That's static grass that I apply. And then on my HO scale, I've got a couple of spots that are about 2 to 3 inches that I've applied static grass. Otherwise, all the other grass that you see on my layouts are a pinch at a time.
Wigwag says his go-to glue is Weld Bond, not to be confused with Type Bond, which is true. And I've used Weld Bond, especially when I was doing airplanes. If I had any kind of acrylic windshield work that I had to do, and of course you don't want the glue to show. If you use a CA, it gets on that acrylic or that the clear plastic, it's going to deform it and it's going to mess it up. Whereas the Weld Bond won't do that, and it's just elastic enough that it would take all the vibration without coming apart. So Weld Bond's a good one too, and you can get that at a craft store also. But it works like a white glue, but it's I think most people would think of a canopy glue for model airplanes or cars or something like that, where it dries really clear, but it's still a little bit flexible.
You ever use that tacky glue, Arlene's Alien's tacky glue?
Yep.
Is it kind of like that?
It's clear.
Yeah, sort of. It's a little bit different property. I think it holds a little bit better. Rigid stuff, I think Weld Bond holds better than Aleene's. I used Aleene's it's a fabric glue. If you read the bottle, Aleene's is actually a fabric glue. And what I used it for was putting on fabric on wings and stuff before I put butylene on it to shrink it.
Right.
And I'd stick it to the frame with Aleene's and then come back and put the shrinking stuff on it. But the Weld Bond is a little bit different quality. It's a little bit different glue in the fact that it holds a lot firmer than Aleene's would. But for small parts, Aleene's would work just fine.
So, Bill, you really don't use a static grass applicator throughout your whole layout, just in certain spots.
Just in certain spots. I use the static grass applicator actually more when I build my furnace filter trees, just to kind of give that application than I do for anything else.
Rick Railroad made his own static grass applicator. I did the same thing. Anybody out there that made a grass applicator?
Yeah, I made one like Sparky did. I haven't used it yet, but I made one. So I don't know how well it works.
Oh, that if you don't discharge it, it'll shock the crap.
The discharge is half the fun, especially at the end. I
Man.
scared the hell out of my wife doing that before. It's like, hey, look at me make this tree. Hey, watch what happens when I touch this to this. Zap.
Yeah. Don't touch it with your finger though.
No, I've done that too. That doesn't feel very good.
Well, actually, it can actually stop your heart, because it sends enough electricity through you that it can stop the muscle.
There's what's electricity there?
Yeah, static electricity. Yeah, static electricity is a lot more dangerous than people think it is. They don't think it's all that dangerous because everybody's had static electric shock, but it doesn't take much to stop a heart actually.
And this
they get the right charge.
Quite a bit of voltage behind it. Not a lot of amperage, but a lot of voltage.
Yeah,
so, it can be dangerous.
So if you had heart problems or something, it could be dangerous. So you got to be careful with it. Wigwag was saying that the great thing about Weld Bond is it dries really quick, which is true. And Jack said the Type Bond in the red bottle, use that one. He said the blue has acrylic in it and makes your scenic look like crap. Always use the red bottle. It's water-based, which I can understand that. I don't use my Type Bond for really doing much scenic work. I use Type Bond for building structures and stuff like that. But he's right about that. They're different each of the 3 tight bonds are different kinds of glue. In fact, the one I use is the one that's waterproof. You know, when it dries, it's waterproof. Tight bond 3, and you don't want to use it for scenery stuff. Another glue that I like and I use a lot is E6000. Now E6000 is like goop, you know, shoe goop that you used to buy to fix your tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Holds very good once it dries. It dries relatively quickly, and it's very, very flexible. So it works good in a lot of places. Where you need a fast hold, and it dries crystal clear.
That's what I like. The railing, the tender tank railing. I did.
Yeah, it's very versatile. It'll stick to a lot of things. It won't bleed into surrounding scenic stuff. So if you're using it, like I used it to plant a lot of the woodland scenic trees, because I just have a little pin on the bottom, so there's not a lot there to hold it, and that's what I used for those. And then I would just take a little bit of scenic stuff and sprinkle around right at the base before it dried, and it would stick into that. But taking some of those off now to put the other trees in, now it's like pull it and I get a little, pull it out 4 inches before it comes loose. So I have to be careful with it that way. But it does hold good, and it's not real expensive, but it's a application, specialty thing. You wouldn't use it for wide broadcast stuff, but it does hold good.
Steven says he uses a ton of E6000 in her crafts, and he needs to get it by the 50-gallon drum.
I can understand that. Anytime I go to Hobby Lobby, that's where I always buy it. Is Hobby Lobby. I always pick up a tube because I'll go through it before I know it. But I like using it on building structures also, because it sticks so quickly and it's so clear. Then I'll use it a lot of times, especially put acetate in or something for windows. I'll use it for that, because you stick it right on the corner or the frames, door frames and stuff. You just barely get any on the edge of it and stick it in the wood frame of the door, opening of the door, and it's there. It's not going anywhere.
Well, that's what I'm going to read. The windows in this thing, I used CA when I glued the windows in the caboose, and the vibration of it popped most of them out.
Yeah. CA gets too hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set them in with the E6000.
Use the E6000, they won't come out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that at Lowe's. I see it at Lowe's.
I've never used it. I'm going to have to get some. Give it a try.
It's a silver tube, right, Claude?
Yes, it's silver tube, and it's very similar to Walther's goo or the shoe goop. They're very, very similar. It's very sticky,
Stinks.
crystal clear. No, it doesn't stink. No, it doesn't smell.
So, like, the goop smells bad.
Doesn't? I've never used Walther's goop. I've used the shoe goop a long time ago.
The shoe goop smells really bad.
Yeah. No, this doesn't have any smell to it that I've noticed.
What does everybody use to glue foam? Just out of curiosity.
I use it's Loctite.
Yeah, they have a special.
It's a construction adhesive.
Yeah.
It'll do several things, but it's white when it comes out. It's looks like white caulking, but it dries pretty quick and it works really well on foam.
Yeah.
And it won't attack the foam. So that's what I use for that.
Same thing. I've used that on all of my pink foam board.
I have used Type Bond 3 on it also. That'll work, but it takes a lot longer for it to dry.
And it's more expensive too.
Yeah.
That's what I use.
Yeah.
I've actually added foam and some railings around my spline.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Type Bond 3 will work on it. It just takes forever for it to dry because the foam doesn't let it breathe and get any oxygen. And the glue doesn't want to set up if it doesn't get any oxygen, or able to dissipate, in the air. So, but the Loctite stuff that I use, and I don't know which one it is. I just know it's Loctite. but you can put it in there and squeeze it together, come back in 30 minutes, and you can pull it apart probably after 30 minutes, but it'll take a little effort. And then after overnight, it's there. It's not going anywhere. So
Dennis,
that's what I use for foam.
Yeah.
what have you been up to?
Well, we got what, 5-6 minutes?
Yeah, condense it.
Now,
see, Mark Pruitt uses hot glue for foam.
Tell us the highlights.
Which I could see that would work too.
Let's see. Let me change my camera around.
Dennis has highlights.
Yeah, you know.
I thought that gray was natural.
Oh.
So here, everything's backwards to me. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to change that.
What does that say there? Something one.
It says Marimba 1. So
What is that?
if you paid attention to the channel over the years, you know that I'm a retired Army musician.
Yeah.
And on the day that we retired, we got in a Grand Marimba, and those things are like 8 feet long, maybe even 10 feet, and it came in a huge cardboard box. And so, as a departing gift for my retirement, I took that cardboard box, and it's like a 1/4-inch cardboard.
Wow.
So all I did was go in and make some spacers and glued it to the side of the spline. And so now I don't have to worry about anything falling off.
Is that going to be a
Also,
That's a good idea.
Is that going to be a tunnel?
well, I mean, so here's the deal. Everything you see where the pink foam is, that's all going to be visible. Will be scenic. This will actually be a window in the fascia. From here to here, somewhere over here, I don't know where yet, will be a window in the fascia, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do in there. At the very least, I might try and model the inside of a tunnel. That might be kind of cool, but we'll just kind of have to see. But everywhere where there's pink foam, will be visible and scenic.
Okay.
So you can see over here, and even this leg, and I know I've mentioned it before, this leg here is going to move back to this 1x4 if I can get away with it. I won't know for sure until I actually get some trackage up here. But that's, going to come out of a tunnel here somewhere, and then mountainside all through here, and then of course back around here. And I plan on plunging the fascia kind of down and around so that this is higher, and then I want to do like, where Bill has some trees that are lower, so that as the train comes around, the tips of the trees, you can kind of see through the tops of the trees at the train, that kind of thing, where you're going through windows of trees is the plan there. So that's where I'm at in here. And we'll take a look at this real quick.
You're
In the process of this is, I say it's a scratch build. I've used the plans from 2 different kits, which is the Durango Press water tower and the Campbell Scales model water tower. All of the materials are my own, and there's some tweaks here and there I did to it, but I'm in the process of painting it. I'm not real happy with it right now, but I'm not finished either. And I even think the roof, there's just something not right about the roof to me. It's not glued on, but I think it's too
symmetrical?
Is
it symmetrical?
Dennis, I think
Is
maybe
which symmetrical?
I think maybe it's a little steep.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something not right about the proportions of the roof, so I'm probably gonna look at that and redo it, because I just don't like it at the moment.
Yeah, if you look at the Denver Rio Grande towers, they're fairly flat. I mean, they're not flat,
Yeah.
but they're not
But
nearly.
I used the template out of that Durango press kit, and I don't know what I must have done something wrong. Let's see. We still
No,
got.
we never did anything wrong.
We've only got 1 minute left. Lots of wiring has taken place. Everything is ready to go pretty much. I just need to, there's a couple of little quirky things here. There's a jumper that goes to every one of these tortoise adapter boards that lets you know which one of the 10 lines you're making use of to the tortoise. I think 9 out of the last 15 of these I purchased or whatever that I haven't configured yet did not come with that jumper. So I can't configure anything at the moment until I give somebody a call and say, hey, you didn't send me this. And now on the bottom side, which you can't see, I have gone in and put in ties on all of the turnouts. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Looks like Bill's update just popped up.
Yeah,
Probably.
that means it's time to go.
That's warning us. Time's up.
Yeah.
Dennis, that looks great.
Yeah.
You are going to have some wonderful seating opportunities and a lot of pleasure running your layout.
Hey,
I'm really looking forward to getting this behind me and starting on some, the whole, after I get this put in and the trackage up here, which, is going to take another couple months. But after I get that there, I'm going to turn my back on anything track and electronics and focus on building structures and scenery.
Hey, real quick, I want to say in your last update video, you used the NMRA gauge to set distance. That was a good idea. I've never seen anybody do that. That was a good idea.
If you're
like carb distance,
can't overstate the importance of knowing beforehand what your tolerances are with your track. If there's any chance that you could collide with anything, because you don't want to lay a bunch of track and then find out that you've got crap running into each other.
Yeah. Especially like, the rock tunnels I have on my layout, especially the one going up the mining area. I had to tweak a bunch of stuff on there to get the clearance. Now I'm inside some of the NMR gauge, but I'm also narrow gauge. So it's a little bit easier, but that's why that gauge is shaped the way it is.
Yeah.
So you've got those clearances.
Yeah, right, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's why it's so important to have one, because it's more than just your track. It gives you building clearances, gives you platform clearances, gives you all that stuff.
And if you're building your own turnouts, that tool is absolutely invaluable in building your own turnouts, because without the tolerances and knowing exactly why your stock is not rolling like it should, you're just, kind of pretending to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get out of here, guys. Somebody else closed the show.
Thanks everybody for coming in. Y'all have a good weekend. Nice to see you.
Yep.
We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Yep. Take care, everybody.